The first being Thing Too Cool for You's reply to Michael Crook and Rocking Mr. E, then the latter two videos as well, in the order mentioned. Having watched Rocking Mr. E last, I was inspired to write and then read from a script with very deliberately pronounced voice work. It is quite clear for even the least logical of persons to see, quite directly, that rape is possible. I refuse to believe there is any doubt as if to a man being strong enough to force himself upon a woman. It is thus quite clear that saying rape victims are liars means something semantic only. Specifically, it means that men have the right to force themselves on women. Insofar as Mr. Crook says men should not do that, he leaves it to the discretion of the man to decide if he's been bought. I say bought because Mr. Crook likens accusations of rape to buyer's remorse. Every man that thought a woman was going for him only to find out he was mistaken is evidently a bought good with the right to have sex with its owner. I know that sounds odd, but don't blame me. How else is Mr. Crook ever going to get laid? It seems fair to Mr. Crook, I think, that if he should get a woman to flirt for 5 minutes before she finds out what a loathsome prick he is, that should be enough, and he should be given a coupon to have sex with that woman at his convenience. Indeed, I should not find it surprising for Mr. Crook to be in civil court, pressing the women to submit according to the implied contract, since in Mr. Crook's universe, evidently his inability to communicate sexual intent with women is just not his fault. I think it's quite clear Michael Crook is literally irrational. His statements do not relate to any measure of reality. What he is saying is not scientific. It flies in the face of thousands of years of human experience and denies the physical reality of male strength. It denies even the presence of necessary conditions for rape. It denies a clear physical possibility. It is the big lie. And if you stand around wondering how it's possible someone can believe what you have just heard, you have already succumbed to it. It is not possible to believe that rape is not possible. It's possible to say you believe that as cover for emotionally troubled relationships with women, relationships too painful to discuss directly. It is, of course, pointless to pretend to have an intellectual conversation with someone when the alleged topic is really only a proxy for a conversation which is about particular psychological problems and not about reason or rationality. That is the case here. Feminism is a proxy for Mr. Crook's painful relationships with women in his life. My experience provides no other option to me that can explain such a phenomenon as we see with him. These problems are perhaps with women he cannot feel comfortable hating and criticizing, and so he transfers his hate to an entire gender. I actually agree that there is a lot of hyperbole in statistics such as 1 in 4 women will be sexually abused, but on the other hand, such studies are likely using broad definitions, including things like all the women that will have their butt grabbed or who will be sexually threatened verbally by a man, which are indeed very common occurrences. People that say this sort of thing doesn't happen don't mean these things don't happen. They mean it's perfectly acceptable from their point of view, and perhaps, if anything, is evolution's fault. A man denying that rape is possible is more likely looking for an exceptionally strong argument that what they have done is not rape. Now please remember, if you discuss feminism with someone like Michael Crook, you are not discussing feminism at all, but are instead discussing his relationships with his mother and the other women in his life, without learning the pertinent and sordid details which might make such a conversation of interest or of value. You are witnessing the smoke and flame from an out-of-control and dysfunctional set of relationships and are not in any way discussing feminism. It would be better, though evidently boring to people, to construct new ideas. But it is much easier to find dysfunctional people and try to criticize opinions they self-ascribe. But what would a more healthy gender mentality be for society? What would a society with such a view look like? Our view of gender issues might not be as morally decayed as Mr. Crook's, but neither are they shining monuments to enlightenment. Which is more productive? To bring ours forward or to try to drag Mr. Crook halfway toward our still insufficient perspectives. Well, it doesn't matter. You can't move someone away from an emotional dysfunction with reason and rationality about another topic. Because to move from that place is not to acquire a new attitude about women, but to acquire a new attitude about particular women in his particular life. Progressive questions don't provide the kind of emotional contrast that arguing with a rape denialist does. Now, you could take anything that you like seriously, of course. But please understand, there are some things you simply cannot take literally.